That was the first said about them. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. Several species arrive at the same conclusion as the habitable planet, 150 light-years from the local stellar union. We send several probes to investigate whether the system was indeed habitable. A private prospector enterprise hoping to gather a habitable system to their dominion was a gamble, and the private corporation took it. They used most of its capital into the expedition. The probes were sent at 10% of light speed. The probes already were launched when the preliminary signals of intelligent life emerged. The entire voyage was cancelled, with the colonial fleet being redirected to colonize some closer star. It was ludicrous to colonize anything nearer 100 light-years near the home world of any primitive civilization. Even those who just managed to invent fire, like the primitives from Sol Free, would long evolve into a space empire of their own, and claim the surrounding space before the scouts even arrived. However, the flyby probes already were sent, left to pass by the system. The Enterprise was forgotten as the company turned into several enterprises of their very own. Nobody cared to have the rights to an abandoned prospect project anymore. 1,500 years later, the probes passed by the system, taking pictures of everything, from the tiny ice bodies on the edge of the solar system to the star at its center. Many were destroyed by the interplanetary dust field, as expected. Many others would be captured into orbits, where sunlight would be too little to keep its systems running. However, others managed to be captured by the orbits of the planets themselves. There was nothing. The system was empty, except for the primitives at Sol Free. They still were using fire. Their state-of-the-art technology was, of course, the sharp stone and the campfire. Not even the creation of fire, mind you, but the bearing of it, carrying any natural form of fire around and keeping it alive by feeding with fuel. It was unbelievable at first, but as it was presented before, the Invuits to themselves took 5,000 years to claw their way out of their supermassive homeworld when they first discovered fire, so it was noted those would be one of the slow-burning species. 10,000 years later, they still bear fire. Many theories were drafted for why this. Many species arguing with each other about the true sapience of humanity, with many declaring them animals that instinctively managed to make tools with no true rationale behind it. Others tried to keep humanity's space, as reserved for their future exploration. Many called them that fire people, but otherwise, the volume of space became irrelevant. Thousands of years passed. The galactic community evolved, challenged before, though impossible now where mundane. Travel between galaxies became possible. The power to unmake suns and star clusters were at our hands. We traveled where it was impossible to go before. Galaxies beyond reach were seeded with life. Still, humans only bore fire. 20,000 years since we found the humans, organic life had faded away in the galactic community. Most of the inhabitants were artificial beings that uploaded their minds to artificial bodies long ago. Still, humanity bears fire. It took only a few centuries for organic life to become extinct in the galaxy. Not by genocidal races, but by simple irrelevance. To be in a virtual world was simply better than the alternative. In virtual reality, everyone could be the god-king of their own universe. Time became a matter of perspective, as superfast civilizations simulated life millions of times faster than what biological bodies let. For them, life speed was too slow in comparison of what they could live at any travel. Even at 99% of light speed to the next star system became an eternity in their perspective. Artificially, the intelligent civilizations would collapse their home star into black holes, using its diminished size and infinite density to generate intense computational power to the point that the entire lifetime of the universe could be simulated. It took a few centuries in real time to the artificial civilizations to use the black hole to create basement universes with a lower or higher entropic state, where the very laws of physics could be edited, as long as the fabric of reality between the artificial universe became separated from the natural universe. Humanity still bears fire. It didn't take long before it was possible to create universes where mass and energy spontaneously appear, and be capable of being used not by the civilizations, but by each individual being in existence. Each sentient creature became a god of their own universe, entirely separated from the home universe, forever out of reach of the natural universe. For some, it took only a few days of subjective time. For others, trillions upon trillions of subjective years. but the revelation came to all in the end. Each individual being could expend the energy to live lives so intense and interesting in virtual worlds that their stories would be lauded for generations of old, or they could simply modify themselves to feel the pleasure of those lives only by direct stimulus, saving energy in the process. Eventually, the Fermi paradox was answered not by nuclear war or pan-galactic warfare. No, it was answered with pleasure. Each individual being, now owner of their own universe, would slowly but surely use every watt of energy to stimulate themselves, removing all the useless parts of their program until they became non-sentient, living off an eternity of pleasure inside a computer. Still, humans bear fire. There was a pattern of time, with each race taking about 10,000 to 20,000 years to go from fire to extinction by self-pleasuring meaning or universal exile. Humans. They took 500,000 years to go from fire to scientific method. So long so that nature already had molded them into a different species. Their technology advanced in leaps, but also passed periods of long stagnation. They eventually did go to the stars, traveling space at 10% of light speed, slowly swarming over every star and everything they could see to reach. Yes, they eventually too became artificial beings, with simulations of virtual worlds. However, contrary to most species, they opted not to speed up, but to slow down their perspective of time. With slower time frames, they managed to create entirely minds the size of planets, capable of such levels of computational power that were before impossible without creating a pocket universe. In 10,000 subject years, humanity already colonized the entire galaxy. In 1,000 subjective years, every galaxy whose gravity bound them to be reachable by humans was settled, and in 100 subjective years, they were all dragged back towards the Milky Way. It took 10 billion years in real time, however. To their leviathans of brains, little time had passed. Every time they found another intelligent life form, they took the similar path to the older civilizations, speeding up their perspective of time, until they fled the universe completely. Humanity, for a given value of it, would outlast not only every sentient life forms, but also every star in the universe, to exist well into the dark ages of the universe, using all the mass and energy they gathered, and all the computational process they had amassed. They were not in the creations of pocket universes, but in a project much more ambitious. It would be close to the extinction of their own species, many of their minds already going into the bliss of non-existence, but in time, they managed to create a basement universe in such a way that it could unfold into the natural universe itself. The result was catastrophic. The pocket universe exploded in an endless stream of mass and energy, destroying everything in their path. But before humanity was wiped out, a message was sent, written at the edge of the explosion. Their whole culture, deeds, recorded history of other races. So large it was that the entire edge of this new existence was occupied by this book, a story we now only started to unveil. When we translated the background radiation, and we perceived the entire edge of existence as this immense repository of knowledge, the very first message we translated stated, "I bear the fire. Let it be light."